Okay, we are here. It's September 26th, 2023, and we are in our Holy Ground Bible study. We are coming from the book that we have been reading for this year that I have actually realized we'll be going into next year with, because we've switched some stuff around and missed some weeks, extended some weeks and all that. So we actually will probably be reading this book through February of 2024 if I calculated it correctly. But it is called She Speaks. It is wisdom from the women of the Bible to the modern day Black woman, and it is by Michelle Clark Jenkins. This week, we are reading about the Shulamite woman. She is found in the book of Song of Solomon. And I have to say, this is my confession, this is probably one of my least favorite books of the Bible. And that is because I'm not big on like poetry and figuring it out. I'm like, just tell me what you're trying to say. So when you come into me with all of this colloquialism and all of that, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Just say it out front. So this study for me this week was challenging because I just wanted to skip over it, but that would not be fair to y'all. So I did my research, I did my studies, and I really tried to get to what was being said in here, because usually when people be like the Song of Solomon, I'd be like, skip next. What can we do after this? Or it is what it is. But I went ahead and I did some studying. So the Song of Solomon is actually 8 chapters. So Alexis said, I really enjoyed this one. Well, child, chime in as you see fit, because if I do it no justice, it still has not quite imparted into my spirit all of this, because I was like, I really still don't like this book of the Bible. And I don't know if that's something that we should do, but this is my truth, and this is a judgment for each his own. It is what it is. I'm sorry, y'all. So it's 8 books. I encourage you to read all 8 chapters. I'm sorry. I encourage you to read all 8 chapters. I read it in several different versions because I was trying to find a version that was not as complex. So I read it in the MEV. I read it in the New Living Translation. I read it in the Message version. And I still felt the same in all 3. But I encourage you to read it. And read the version that you're most comfortable with. And if you are like Alexis and you love this book of the Bible, all to you. Like this is my personal thing. I just have to this is me speaking and sitting in my truth. But overall, I'll just tell you, this book of the Bible, like I said, is a series of poetic and lyrical passages, and it celebrates the beauty of love. And I think that's why so many people like this book of the Bible, is because it strays away, or it gives us a different side of the Bible. It's in the Old Testament. It gives us a different side outside of the laws and outside of the do this, don't do this. You can't do this. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you do this, you're going to perish. If you do this, God's not going to bless you. If you do this, it doesn't give us all of that. And I understand that part about it. And it's really written from the perspective of a woman and a man, which is considered the bride and the bridegroom. And then you have pieces within it that come from her friends, or what they call the chorus, which are people speaking in the midst of the conversation. Some people have said that this also is a representation of Christ and Christ's love for the church, because we know that the church is considered to be the bride of Christ, who is the bridegroom. So people look at it from that perspective as well. Whichever way you look at it, it is truly a book about love. It is truly a book about how to love. It is truly a book about desire and patience and all that. So we'll get into all of that in a second. But there are 4 things that I really want us to glean as we are reading the book, and that is self-confidence. And I'm going to give you some scriptures on where that is. That's in Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verses 5 through 6. The other one, and we'll go through these a little more in depth. The other one is love and devotion, and that is chapter 2, verse 16. The other is patience. That's chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. And then facing adversity. And that's going to come in chapter 5, verses 2 through 6. So when we're introduced to this love story in chapter 1, and as it goes through chapter 1, she's
Can you
really
repeat those 4 things? I'm sorry, and where to find it?
sure. Self-confidence. That's going to be chapter 1, verses 5 through 6. The other is love and devotion. That's going to be chapter 2, verse 16. Patience, which is going to be chapter 3, verse 1 through 4. And then facing adversity, and that's going to be chapter 5, 2 through 8. And I'm going to read them again when I go through each one. So let me know. I mean, if you missed it, I'm going to go back over them. So again, my neighbors, hold on, let me go close my door. Because, hey, being a little ghetto right now. Hood Chronicles, they outside cussing. Well, she's not cussing at nobody else. She just cussing up a storm. Anyways, however, the book focuses on, it touches on the human aspects of love and desire. And so if you read this, you see a lot of things in reference to the woman's body. You see things, they're talking about kissing and laying in the garden and all of these other things that are spoken about in the book of Song of Solomon. So like I said, we start off in chapter 1, and it's talking about her, and I wanted to bring up her and her self-confidence. And so chapter 1, verses 5 through 6, I'm going to read those, and this is coming from the MEV. It says, I am dark, but still lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I am dark, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyards I have not kept. So some people, their interpretation of this is that you can say that she's a Black woman or she's a woman of color because she says my skin is dark, but she talks about being in the sun also. So the reference of that, when you look at that, especially coming from this book, and I think they reference that in here, is the color of her skin, or is her saying that she's dark, but she's still lovely, is something that I think us that are particularly on this call right now can take into consideration, is that this woman is saying that no, regardless of what my skin color is, I am still, she says, I am still, what were her exact words? But I'm still lovely. Like, don't allow what you see or my complexion to take away from my beauty, because regardless of that, I'm still considered lovely. And she still says that I'm beautiful. And that is something I think a lot of women have a hard time with doing, is reflecting on who you are and what you look like without any makeup on, without all the extras, and just saying, you know what, I'm beautiful. I'm going to take myself as an example for today. Like I told y'all earlier, I decided today was my day to do nothing but sit in my bed because I've had a long weekend. I didn't put no lashes on. I didn't put no brows on. Y'all barely got, like, this ponytail is hanging on by the edge of a thread. But I still wasn't like, oh my God, I look crazy. Like, I did say I look crazy, but I wasn't like, I'm ugly. I didn't say like like, I can use a little attention right now, but I'm still beautiful. And I think that we should all take that into heart, like at your bare, when nothing else, like, you are beautiful and you should love yourself, because in order for anyone else to love you, you have to first love yourself. And we hear that a lot. But I think that this is a direct thing, is that before she even gets into anybody looking at her, before she gets into anything else, she's like, I'm dark, but I'm still lovely, oh daughters of Jerusalem. First off, let me just tell you, I'm cute. She's coming off saying that. So, and she knows her self-worth in this. So don't take that from this. And it's other parts within here, like that she's talking about her beauty, and the man is talking about how beautiful she is and how much he loves to look at her. those are things, and before the man ever says it to her, she says it about herself. And so I want us to understand that. And that was a great point. And when I was reading this, I was like, oh, before he ever confirmed or affirmed her, she was like, I'm cute. I don't need you to tell me. If you do, that's great, but I already know I'm cute. The second part is the love and devotion. And I said that came in chapter 2, verse 16. And that reads, my beloved is mine and I am his. He feeds his flock among the lilies. So her love and devotion to him in this particular thing is basically saying, I am his and he is mine. And it doesn't matter what he does or where he is, his job. We belong, we go together real bad. Like, this is the first indication of real bad right here. She's saying that, like, I love him, and it's other scriptures that are in between. This is why I'm telling you to read all of Song of Solomon 1-8. But she's saying, like, I love him. He's mine and I'm his. And it don't matter what he got going on. It doesn't matter who he feeding, where he's going. That's my man, my man, my man. Okay. And again, because many people look at this as the love story between Christ and the church, we can see that throughout here, but this is the first indication where she's coming off and she's saying, like, look, he belonged to me and I belong to him. And he out here feeding the flocks among the lilies, but that's still my man, right? So then we go to patience, and that's going to be found in chapter 3, verses 1-4. And I'm going to read this. It says, on my bed by the night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The watchman found me. Actually, you know what? Is this the one that I wanted to say for this? Hold on. No. So this is part. Okay. So 1 second. I'm going to say 1 through, I'm going to read, so we'll combine these two together. So I'm going to combine patience and facing adversity. And for some reason, I don't know why I have that scripture there. I'll go back and read it. But patience and adversity are both found in this. So I'm going to start off again at chapter 3, verse 1. And it says, on my bed by night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The watchmen found me, and they went about the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Scarcely I have passed them. When I found him whom my soul loves, I held him and would not let him go until I brought him to my mother's house and in the chamber of her whom conceived me. So scratch that. That was just patience. When I saw the watchman part, I thought that was the other scripture that I was supposed to be reading. But this part, it shows she's saying that I searched for him, but I didn't find him. And this is more so, I can't remember who said this, but patience is not time, it's a posture. And it's your heart posture and how you're waiting. How you wait has more to do with than the amount of time that you're waiting. And so she's saying in these scriptures, like, I was looking for him, but I did not find him. And she doesn't say that I gave up hope. She doesn't say I gave up faith. She doesn't say that I stopped looking. She just says, you know what? I went about looking for him, my soul who loves him, but she still was waiting patiently. She still was not anxious about trying to find him. And even throughout here, she doesn't say, like, I became nervous or afraid that he was gone. Nothing in this shows an indication that she at any point in time felt like my man that was in chapter 2 had went away. She never showed in here any doubt that the man that she knew was hers and she was his had gone away, even though she could at this point not find him. So when she says in verse 3, the watchman found me and they went about the city, have you seen him whom my soul loves? She still was like, okay, if I can't find him on my own, let me seek help. Again, this goes back to the wise counsel in which you have around you, or the people to whom you confide in. Can you help me find the one that my soul loves? And then she says, sacrosanktly had I passed them by. When I found him whom my soul loves, I held him and would not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house and into the chambers of the one who conceived me. So she's saying once she did find him, she took him back home. And it's like, this is the one that my heart has been longing for. This is the one that my heart has been desiring. So that's the third point. The fourth one is going to be the facing adversity. And for some reason, I feel like this might not be the right scripture, but I'm going to look really quick. No. Okay, this is why I thought this. So again, it's chapter 5, and I'm going to start at chapter verse 7. Right before this, it's talking about that he came to the door, he knocked on the door, she didn't get up in time to answer the door, and he was gone by the time she got there. So in verse 7, chapter 5, verse 7, it says, the watchmen found me, and as they went about the city, they struck me, they wounded me, they took off my mantle, they took away my mantle and the watchmen of my walls. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, to find my beloved, that you tell him I am faint with love. That's in the MEV version. It was another version. I think it might have been the Message. Let me read it in the Message because it's a little more gruesome in that one. The Message version reads, it says, okay. The Message, if you start, it says verses 4 through 7. It says, my lover would not take no for an answer, and no longer he knocked. The longer he knocked, the more excited I became. I got up to open the door to my lover, sweetly readily to receive him, desiring and expectant as I turned the door handle, but when I opened the door, he was gone. My loved one had tired of waiting and left, and I died inside. Oh, I felt so bad. I ran out looking for him, but he was nowhere to be found. I called into the darkness, but no answer. The night watchmen found me as they patrolled the streets of the city. They slapped me and beat me and bruised me, ripping off my clothes, these watchmen who were supposed to be guarding the city. I beg you, sisters of Jerusalem, if you find my lover, please tell him I want him and that I am heartsick with love for him. That's in the Message Bible. Now, the reason I put this is because it shows in this how she had to face adversity, how she was beaten, she was bruised. Some even may say that she was raped because they tore her clothes, but she didn't let any of that stop her from getting from the love that she knew that she wanted and desired. So she's still in the midst of the fight that she was having with the watchmen, still decided that she wanted the people to help her find her lover. And again, so you see Watchmen in chapter 3, and then you also see her talk about Watchmen again in chapter 5. So the Watchmen in chapter 3 are helping her. The Watchmen in chapter 5 are hurting her. So who the watchmen are in your life can also have a big part in how your day or your life is going to go. But even throughout both of these stories, we see that she does not lose her faith. She does not lose her resiliency. She still remains patient. She still is seeking help. She still is looking for those that are around her to come and assist her in finding her love. The one thing that I kept looking for in this, and I didn't have time to really look at it looking into it in depth, because I told you I was resting all day, was at any point do they mention God? And I'm gonna look that up because I really don't know. Is God mentioned in the book of, is God mentioned in Song of Solomon? Because as I was reading this, I was like, I don't remember them ever talking about God. Okay, let's see. Oh, yes, God is mentioned in Song of Solomon. While the book primarily focuses on the romantic and passionate love between the bride and the bridegroom, there are references of God throughout the text, particularly in interpretations. For example, Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verses 6 through 7 says, place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal over your arm, for love is strong as death, it is jealousy. This still don't say anything about God. Many waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot sweep it away. If one were to give all the wealth of one's house for love, it would be utterly scorned. So that's what they're saying, is talking about a reference to God. So again, it's an allegorical interpretation, but it does not actually say God. So they're saying that this is considered like a metaphor between God and his people, or Christ and the church. So that was one thing that when I was reading this, I was like, I don't remember seeing God. And again, I read it in so many different versions, but I didn't see God in any of that. But what we can learn through her in the midst of this adversity is that you can still have faith. You can still believe. You can still pray for the things, or seek the things that you are seeking God, that you were expecting God and having a promise for, regardless of what it may look like. So you can bounce back. You can still stay in the game, and get it is what you're desiring about. So again, this was a hard one for me, but we got through it. So I'm gonna stop this recording and start the other one.